Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host. Some people call me or know me by the my sometimes used online name of the Maine Lone Ranger. Sometimes my pseudonym in writings is John Ranger, so you may have known me from that. Uh, but my real name is D.L.Soucy. I'm an author and photographer from the Mid-Coast, Maine area, and I'm going to take a little bit of a different tack in my presentations here on the survival and preparedness scene. And we have a lot of discussion out there as to what is a prepper and what is a survivalist, and all of the different activities that we like to partake in as we get ready for the coming times. And some of us aren't really sure what the coming times are that we're actually supposed to be getting ready for. Have several different areas of preparation out there. One of them is the aspect of survivalism. And we have a lot of people calling themselves preppers, but what they are practicing the art of survivalism. And what that entails is being able to go out in the woods and evade whatever it is that you think is hunting you while you survive off of the land. This is a nice picture, and it makes for a lot of good TV shows. You see a lot of things like, take for instance, Dual Survival with Cody Lundin and Dave Canterbury. It's an interesting show, but unfortunately I see a lot of opportunities where they could be training you or demonstrating skills in survival that they completely miss. They lack a good understanding of what's going on there in the world around them. For instance, and I know from personal experience where one of the shows they were in when they came to my home state of Maine, they supposedly plopped themselves down in the middle of nowheres on an abandoned logging road, which wasn't really an abandoned logging road. It was on the coast of Maine, not really way up in the woods where you would expect a real logging road to be. But essentially they were plopped down into what could be considered a woodland supermarket. All kinds of stuff to eat there, and yet they lowered themselves to the position where they had to eat a can of dog food that they found in the back of a pickup truck that was ostensibly abandoned. Of course, we know that this is just a television show, and there's all kinds of people around, and they got plenty of food, and there's no real survivalism involved there. But the fact of the matter is that if they were true preppers and survivalists, they would have had plenty to eat. They would have been able to build shelter until rescue came if they wanted it, or they could have just lived out their merry lives until they died and rotted away in the woods. But we get to the point where survivalism is not so much about the act of surviving as it is the act of showing off your skills. And we have some problems in translating that into real life because of the fact that you spend so much time bragging about your ability to hunt and trap game and pick wildflowers and all that, that you forget that there's a lot more to life than that. When the end comes, it's going to be the end. There's not going to be anything beyond the end. That's why they call it the end. It's because it's finished. Eventually, many of you listeners are not born-again Christians, of course, and I can understand that. I have a hard time accepting that, but the fact is that eventually the world is going to come to an end. And for us born-again Christians, we believe that the world is going to end when Jesus Christ returns. And after that, the world will be no more. So those of you that are surviving for the end times or planning to survive the end times are wasting a lot of effort and throwing away a lot of assets that you could be using today because you're planning to survive something that is not survivable. It's like these people that they want to build a bunker and hunker down because they're going to get hit by an asteroid. If a 6-mile wide asteroid actually gets close enough to hit the Earth, there's no bunker in existence that's going to be able to help you survive that kind of an impact. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be discussing in these shows. I'm only going to be doing them once a week, and they're going to be half-hour, and at this time they're not going to be open for discussion. So live with it. And if you have a comment, you can go to www.survivaltimestoday.net. Leave a message in the secure contact form on the bottom, and if I think it's worth responding to, I'll get back to you. And if you have some questions or comments that might be worth discussing here in this venue, then by all means leave them in that same contact form, and I'll bring them up here on the show. But what we're looking at today is what is a prepper and what is a survivalist. A prepper is, by nature, a survivalist. A survivalist is not necessarily a prepper. The two don't go hand in hand all the time. A survivalist is somebody who has the mindset and, to an extent, the skill set to be able to survive in any situation. There are a lot of people out there that claim that they can be able to survive any catastrophe that could come down the road. In many aspects, I really don't believe there's anybody that can actually do that. But there are people who have the skills and the knowledge necessary to be able to pull off, at least to some extent, a livable lifestyle on minimal means if you get stuck in some place far off. For instance, I myself have enough skills and knowledge where if you were to blindfold me and plop me in the north woods of Maine, I could find my way out and live with absolutely no problem, provided a attack of rabid coyotes don't decide to have me for lunch. Quite a thought there. However, on the other side of that, if you were to blindfold me and plop me down in the middle of the Arizona desert, I'd be completely lost and would have absolutely no concept of what to do. While I do have a well-rounded set of skills and knowledge, it isn't specific to any one area except for the area where I spend 100% of my time. I have been out of state several times, and there are places where I could probably just as easily get by, but as far as getting myself unlost, if I found myself lost, I would have a hard time with that. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be covering here over the next few weeks in these episodes that are going to have to deal with things that you're not going to find comfortable, because they're going to address things that you have long taken as being fact when in reality they are not. Many of the things that are going to be interjected here are very political in nature, and they're going to point towards what we really need to be surviving for, what we need to be planning for in the coming times. And what are we really preparing for? Bottom line here, in simple terms, what I believe we're really preparing for is a time that we can read about in the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 12. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet begun to rule, but they will receive power to rule with the beast for 1 hour. And there are some other, and it's the New Century Version by the way. At some point in time, we'll get into this a little deeper and look at some of the other translations. But the bottom line here is that we are getting ready or prepping for the time in our lives, which I believe may be coming soon. And again, like the scripture says, no man knows the hour or the day, so I can't tell you when this is going to occur. But appearances are that things are building up so that we may possibly see this very soon, within a matter of years. There are some political things going on that we'll get into in a latter episode here, specifically addressing some of these things and the signs of the times. But what we are really should be prepping for is that period of time, which is going to encompass a time span of 7 years, where we are going to have a vastly different lifestyle than what we have today. Many of us today are clinging to our credit cards and our almost bare cupboards because we can run down to the store and get what we need. But the time is coming where everything that you're going to get is going to be had by one of two ways. It's either going to be had by embracing the financial system of the Antichrist, which I believe is being set up today. And again, there's not enough time in a half hour to address all of these, so it'll have to take place over several episodes. But I believe that that system is being set up today. So you have a choice of either embracing the financial system of the Antichrist and paying for your goods with plastic, provided the government lets you buy those goods with that plastic, or living off of a system that is more Christ-centered, which allows you to live off of what you have without having to partake in the financial system that is going to be set up for these final days. There are a lot of pros and cons of looking at this either way, and as to whether or not we're actually setting things up for that. However, many of the problems that we have today, if you really take a in-depth, close look at what's going on, most of our problems that we have as a nation, and as families too, actually revolve around that little piece of plastic that we carry around in our wallet called the credit card. We're spending money that we don't have, and in fact it's money that doesn't actually exist. And in a coming episode we're going to be talking more in depth about the issues of money and barter, and how we can integrate these two competing financial systems in with each other for the coming times, so that we don't have to rely upon this financial system that's coming, and again, in fact, is already being set up. I've talked in several episodes in the past, and also written on my blog at, again, the blog that you want to go to is www.survivaltimestoday.net, and read some of the past articles I've written on this. And I'm going to get back into more serious writing in that. I've had some time where I've been kind of veered off, taking care of some other projects and things. And hopefully those things were actually going to garner me some income so that I could, kind of branch out on my own, if you will, and live self-sufficiently without having to put up with the restraints of a regular job. But that hasn't happened, so I guess it's not meant to happen. So things will get done, but they'll get done in a different manner. But that's neither here nor there for this discussion. But again, what we're preparing for, what you should be preparing for, is a period of time encompassing 7 years where you're not going to be able to do business as normal as we know it today. I don't believe you're going to be able to run down to the corner store whenever you need something, and in many cases you're going to find that many of the stores are not going to have a complete stock of product like we have become enjoyed to learned to accept as a everyday reality here in the United States. And in fact, even today, you'll notice if you pay very close attention to all of these big box stores, you'll notice that a lot of the things that you used to get and they had in stock no matter when you went are gone. They're temporarily out of stock, and they may be getting it back in, they'll tell you, but they don't know when. And a lot of this reason is because, number one, the cash is disappearing for this country. No longer do we have enough wealth where we can afford as retailers, to put a bunch of stuff on the shelf and wait for somebody to come and buy it. We have developed, retail-wise, a system that we call the JIT delivery, or just-in-time delivery, which basically means that a sophisticated software program or sets of programs, there's more than one set of software out there, but they all do the same thing, will look at your sales tracking of all of these products, and they will tell you how much you need to order based upon how long it takes for you to get it. But the reality is many of these software programs are falling short on their promises, simply because of the fact that as we go through our daily lives as retailers, we forget that there are trends that buck the system, and because of that, we have two problems. Number one, the manufacturer can't afford to get the product made in time. Number two, the transportation system can't get it to you in time. And number three, you can't afford to pay for it in time. So therefore, we have a lot of situations where we have very low stock quantities or no stock quantities on many items, because of the fact that we don't want to have be sitting on all of that product. And that's because over the years our definition of wealth has changed. Wealth used to be something that we took for granted, and we based our wealth upon number one, how much land we owned, number two, how much money we had in the bank, and number three, what kind of a lifestyle we had. Today, wealth is based not on these things, but upon something we call a credit score. It's a little 3-digit number that tells you whether or not you're wealthy or not, based upon how well you were able to pay off your that credit. Many times you'll find that many of these people that have high credit scores because they're using credit to pay off debt. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, as they used to call it in the old days. This become a common and almost accepted means of lifestyle today, but it's going to lead to a lot of problems down the road. Eventually all this is going to come to a head, and the people that we owe money to are going to say, hey, I want to get paid, and I want to get paid now. And when that happens, you're going to see a lot of other problems go along with that situation. So what are we going to do to get ready, and what is a prepper and what is a survivalist? Well, a prepper is somebody that is actually taking a proactive look at what's going on around them, and they are proactively accumulating the assets that they need to be able to survive after whatever event befalls you that you think you're preparing for comes. So the difference between a prepper and a survivalist is that a prepper is a proactive person. A survivalist is a reactive person. A prepper gets ready for the coming times so that he can survive when the calamity arrives, and a survivalist is somebody who reacts to events and just survives as best he can as events unfold. Very few survivalists have the mentality or the mindset of long-term planning. I've seen a lot of videos and heard a lot of talk shows where these survivalists are talking about how they're going to live off the land and how they're going to, stockpile food bars and MREs and all kinds of things like that so they can survive on the go. But I think the only way that they're going to be able to accomplish that and get away with it is if they are alone. Unfortunately, many of them are married and they have kids, and while it may be nice for a young guy to fantasize about being some sort of a Rambo hotshot, rampaging through the woods with an AK-47, shooting a deer or a rabbit every now and then to have meat to survive. This simply isn't going to be the case. That's not going to happen. Number one, if you do that, and you want to try to live that kind of lifestyle, society is not going to change to the extent where that sort of lifestyle is going to be allowed. What is commonly referred to as WROL, or without rule of law, situation is very unlikely to occur. The powers that be are not going to allow it to happen. That's a simple fact, and that's something that we need to learn to accept as a fact today. Because if we don't, when we finally come to the point where we realize that the event that I'm talking about occurs, if you're not ready for it, then you're going to realize that, well, you've wasted a lot of time and you wasted a lot of assets on getting ready for the wrong thing. Survival skills are great. You never know when you're going to need them. You could be traveling through the mountains in your car, have your car break down, and it could be maybe you took a shortcut through the White Mountains after a road has been closed down, and you're lost there. There isn't going to be any traffic through there for 6 months. Well, actually, it's not quite that long, but it seems like it sometimes. But you never know when you're going to need your survival skills. So, no, you are not wrong if you learn survival skills and you learn how to live off the land. These things can all help in the long run, and they can also help you develop a mindset that's going to allow you to survive the coming times. But the prepper mindset is more beneficial in that it helps give you a plan, or all-around plan, that allows you to set things up so that you can survive the coming times. You need to follow what I like to call the SWAPO pyramid, which means safety, water, and food. I've got on my YouTube channel, I have some videos that I'm putting up, and I'm going to be doing some more details on this. I don't get a lot of views on that. I had considered just simply dropping the channel because of that. But I think it's too important that these things, little aspects of preparedness that nobody likes to talk about, be shared. So I'm going to leave that up there, at least as long as I'm allowed to anyways. And but we have developed what I call a survival pyramid, or for short, the SWAPO pyramid. And SWAPO means safety, water, and food. These are three things that you have to consider in all of your preparedness planning efforts. Safety, water, and food. Foremost of these is safety, followed by water, and then food. All these things interlock, and they're combined into one thing called your preparedness plan. And by following these building blocks and adding to them, that's what makes you the difference between a prepper and a survivalist. If you follow these plans and you develop your plans based upon what you perceive to be necessary goals to survive any catastrophe that may befall you, you can become a successful survivor when the time comes. But again, some of the things that we're going to be talking about in these episodes are finances and the barter system, food storage, food gathering, foraging, if you will, and many other aspects of your lifestyle. If you get ready for it today, there won't be that much of a change when the time comes when you have to change, and you have to learn how to survive the coming times. But again, we get back to the bottom line of this particular half-hour segment here is what is a prepper and what is a survivalist. Again, a prepper is a proactive choice, and a survivalist is a reactive choice. The difference between preparedness and survivalism is that survivalism means that you have to react to your environment, react to your situation, react to what is happening around you. Preparedness is a proactive choice that allows you to prepare for whatever may befall you so that you won't have to be a survivalist in the coming times. If you prepared properly, you'll have a piece of land with a home on it, with enough land where you can plant your own crops, grow your own foods, and not have to live off the land. Many people don't quite take these preparations serious enough, and they want their preparations to be around defense and the gun, the almighty gun. To be honest with you, I don't have any guns. I'm not ever going to have any guns, so I have to learn to live without them. And there are many means of defense and hunting that don't include the firearm. So it's not an absolute necessity. It makes things a lot easier, and it will help you defend your property should the need arise. But I don't think that's ever going to happen based upon what I read in the scriptures. And in my next episode, we're going to be talking about the Constitution and how most of us are wrong in what we believe the Constitution says and what it's all about. I've been for some of you that might have been following my videos there, you'll notice that I have some discussions on there on the anti-federalist papers, and these are discussions on the debates and essays that came out of the Constitutional Convention debates of 1787. And I find it quite surprising that how much of what we know today and what we've learned and what we understand about the Constitution in reality is wrong. But we'll take that up on my episode on the next time we do Survival Times Today. That's all the time I have for today. I hope you have a good day and enjoy it, because it's the day that the Lord has made, so you don't have much of a choice, so to speak. We'll see you next time on Survival Times Today.